Under pressure, indeed. Hey there, and boom, the pressure cooker is in the air, and there will be those getting singed. Pushing on pressure points for profit. This is 9 to noon at FM 100.3, KFAN, and National Football League Training Camp is the bill of fare, and pressure points with the bill of fare, indeed, are in the air. Cam Ward, Tennessee Titans, year 2, bad team. Looking the part of a franchise quarterback. That's a point of pressure for young Cam Ward. Kyler Murray, paid off to leave. Fresh start. Career resurrection. Proving doubters wrong. Perhaps the point of pressure with young Kyler is just winning the job from the even younger J.J. McCarthy. Caleb Williams, quarterback for the Chicago Bears. Beloved BJ rolled in and you went out there and won the division. No fourth place schedule this year, main man. And the pressure point is improving what was made good and making it better. Under center, back turns for the play action, making plays. He'll get there. His gifts alleviate pressure points. But are these baby Bears good enough to repeat? Kevin O'Connell, pressure points. The Minnesota Vikings have not won a playoff game since 2019. And he's very early in a fat long-term deal. Now, zero job-related pressure point or points here, and nary a seat will become remotely hot. The pressure point with our head coach is making the playoffs and winning. Fans are pining for it. You have some high-end players, and now a general manager who comes from a team that partied with the Lombardi just last year. Like KO, Nolan Teasley knows what it takes to climb to the top. Pressure to give this market some playoff wins and pressure to stabilize the quarterback position and offer one of the very best offenses the National Football League has to offer. Dane Mizutani of the Pioneer Press is in studio with us today at 11 o'clock, and this for sure will be part of the equation. O'Connell's former squad is under heavy pressure, even if they won't concede it. When they acquired defensive end Myles Garrett, these Rams became favorites to celebrate at SoFi and break somebody's heart on Valentine's Day. This is the target at which to shoot in the National Football League. And that anointing, with that anointing comes a point of pressure. Now, out Cincinnati way, you got Joe Burrow saying this is the most talented team with whom I play. Well, in the Super Bowl, Kevin O'Connell won with the L.A. Rams. They beat Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals. That had to be quite the talented team to get to the Super Bowl. But Zach Taylor and Joey B, they facing some pressure. Yeah, they are. And, on the NFC side, there's several others we could talk about. But I look at the Bengals, and I look at Zach Taylor, who's been the head coach of the Bengals since 2019. And at one point, just fresh upstart operation, he's head coach in 2019. A couple years later, they're in the Super Bowl. And they're battling Mahomes and the Chiefs in AFC title games. And we're talking about the idea of this being a generation-long back-and-forth battle between Patty Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Cool. But then the injuries happen. Now you look at the combination of a defense that has struggled to be competent and consistent and devastating to opposing offenses, to the injury issues that they've had, to the money that they've allocated to at least a couple of stars, considering Burrow, considering Jamar Chase, and the lack of victories, the lack of activity in the postseason, and the late charges just to come up short. I think if we're talking about under pressure, for some of these coaches, it's not about needing a trophy to come back, but specifically for Zach Taylor, if this is the most talented team that they've had during his time in the NFL, that has to prove out on the field for Zach Taylor and the Bengals. Vikings training camp begins this week. First day for the fans is Saturday, and Sauce and Nordo will be on the scene with reaction to all of the action. Now, that's next weekend. This past weekend required a wrap provided by Hoffman Cooling and Heating. Props to Scott Hendricks and his company for sweating and working hard to keep you cool when times are hot. and soupy and mostly miserable. Get that $59 AC performance check. Do that right now. Or work with them on a brand new AC at HoffmanHeating.net. HoffmanHeating.net. Our beloved Twinigmatics Meatloaf, the Ratty Athletics.
This one chopped off the plate. Going to be a tough play. Whitefield throws, and he throws it away. A run scores. Jeffers is saved. Twins lead 11-6.
53-54 after beating the Athletics, meatloafing them 2 out of 3 ain't bad, and 3.5 from winning the American League Central. Don't kill the messenger. The Minnesota Twins are 3.5 games from winning the American League Central. Dustin Morse, go crazy. That's fantastic. The trade deadline is approaching, so what's going to happen around that covenant? The last place Kansas City Royals are here starting tomorrow. Ladies and gentlemen, there may be a developing love covenant thanks to WNBA All-Star Weekend.
Here's Clark. Will she try again? You bet! Caitlin Clark with 3 logo bombs within the first 3 minutes of this game.
Caitlin Clark, the identity of the WNBA that causes some, if not many, to cut off their noses despite the old face. Now, Caitlin may have fixed the problem. Caitlin Clark may have fixed the problem this weekend. You see, Caitlin has a fancy new line of Nike shoes.
Ooh.
And there were collective eye rolls around the league when Caitlin Clark got that big old deal from Nike with those new shoes. They seemed to slap harder on the fouls after the new shoes. The hip checks, well, they were quite violent at times. In fact, would even make Brock Faber proud. So Caitlin Clark may have fixed the problem in absolutely brilliant fashion. You see? She gave away a bunch of those shoes to the players over All-Star Weekend. And really, for the first time since she started stealing the show at the highest level, the love covenant includes embracing and happiness and joy. Well done, young lady.
It's an elite move.
It's elite of all elite ever to elite. Well done. In fact, if regarding this, if you can't join them, buy them. To the NFL, and all teams are swinging back into action with training camps popping up league-wide. And despite some contract kerfuffle, they are prepared to puka till they're satisfied.
Stafford under center. 3 receivers to his right. Play action. Stafford looking down the right seam. Firing. Nakua's got it at the 20. The 10. Nakua's going to go. Touchdown Rams in Los Angeles with a 41-yard touchdown strike here in overtime to take the 36-30 lead.
Puka till you're satisfied.
Whatever it is. The star receiver, Puka. Boogity is satisfied.
Whatever it is.
Well, he's set to make $5 million this year, about 5.5.
Oh.
$5.5 million for Puka Nacua, you say. He wants big bucks, and the Los Angeles Rams refuse to budge. Will he hold in and attempt to hold the Rams hostage? Coach Sean McVay said, absolutely not. And in fact, over the weekend when the Rams started training camp, Puka Nacua was out there running your favorite 9 and amplifying the shallow cross covenant. The fact that Puka Nacua is facing some off-field legal concerns also has led him to practicing full throttle. Despite being the most underpaid player in the National Football League.
Tough decision for him, the way you laid that out there.
I mean, if you won't pay them, guilt them.
I always love that one.
So finally, 9:14, good morning. And finally, Minnesota sports lost the genuine article yesterday when 4.5 decade Gophers baseball coach John Anderson died due to complications associated with cardiac arrest. To celebrate his memory, Kansas City Royals TV play-by-play voice Ryan Lefebvre joins 9 to noon next segment. Ryan was the team's MVP in 1993 and is going to share some excellent John Anderson-related stories. May God rest the soul of John Anderson. That's next as part of the TimberTech What's on Deck set list that does include P. Fox in studio off a bachelor party in Colorado. Oh, goody.
Wow.
P. Fox at 10 o'clock. Dame Ms. Utani covers the Vikings for the Pioneer Press at 11 o'clock. And much more with our producer, Eric Nordquist. He's the con. And I'm Paul Allen. This is the 9 to noon radio presentation at FM 100.3 KFAN. This is your cash bang later.
The Fan and BigDeck.com want to give you a shot at some bonus bucks with the National Cash Contest. This hour's keyword is check. You just enter that now at KFAN.com. The keyword is check. And the website, KFAN.com.
This is 9 to noon on The Fan.
All righty, welcome back to the 9 to noon radio presentation. And joining us now is Ryan Lefebvre, play-by-play voice for the Kansas City Royals on television. Might be some radio in the equation, too. We do a lot of booth switching with the Kansas City Royals. And he's been part of the broadcasting team with the KC for almost 3 decades. Now, Ryan was the Golden Gophers baseball team's MVP in 1993. John Anderson was his coach. John died yesterday of complications from cardiac arrest. He was 71. Ryan loved his former coach, who over 43 years with the Maroon and Gold left as the winningest coach in the history of the Big Ten. And Rhino joins us now. Welcome back to Minnesota, my brother. And sorry our catch-up involves such sullen news.
Yeah, well, it's good to hear your voice. I'm sitting in my hotel room here, just looking out over Minneapolis, and hearing your voice reminds me of all the good times that I had here, all the good times you and I had many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. And my heart is broken. I mean, so many of us are just crushed. I mean, there's a lot of grown men who are parents and some even grandparents who feel like we lost a parent, and just trying to grapple with it on one hand, and on the other hand, there's just been a lot of grace at the same time, a lot of text messaging amongst teammates that hasn't happened in a long time, phone calls, promises they get together, guys opening up about things that, John Anderson meant to them, things that they're struggling with right now in life, and we're just coming together in a way we haven't in so many years, and I think that's what would make John proud more than anything else.
That's beautiful, Ryan. And with Ryan, one of your most treasured possessions is a picture of you hugging John Anderson's senior day, 1993 at Siebert Field. Why does that mean so much to you?
Well, if a lot of reasons, and I posted it to our group chat, a bunch of teammates, and we were posting pictures of ourselves with John, and for most guys this is my last picture with John. I was at a Gopher game, or he was in town, or whatever, and we took this picture, and of course, everyone's saying I never thought that this would be the last picture I had with him, and I've just held on to this one because I tried to explain to my teammates, and I sent the picture to you, and if you look closely at it, I mean, he's hugging me, but I mean, I'm just like grabbing onto him, and I think what that was 4 years of leaving Southern California to come to Minnesota and play baseball, and how much I grew as a person. And there were accomplishments on the field, but I think that was probably just a big thank you hug.
Yeah.
Of, man, my life. And I still had more life to live, obviously. My broadcasting career hadn't started. My professional playing career had not started, even though it lasted 2 weeks. But, my broadcasting career hadn't started. So many friendships hadn't been made yet. I hadn't left for Kansas City yet. But, I mean, that was just a way I guess, of just thanking him. Sad that was my last game at Siebert Field, but just thanking him for believing me and believing in me and loving me and coaching me. And there was a lot in that hug there.
Yeah, it definitely was. It was deep. You could tell by the picture.
I was crying my eyes out, by the way, too, when I was hugging him.
Right. No, it was emotional. Now, John Anderson had a winning record 38 of his 43 seasons. What traits, Ryan, did he have to preach consistency to all those players over all those years? Like what was the consistency with the direction and some traits that you recall?
PA, I don't remember because I wasn't paying close attention. I was just worried about playing center field and batting first or second in the lineup and just doing my job. But I probably didn't pay a whole lot of attention to how he was as a coach.
Yeah.
Our assistant coaches handled a lot of the X's and the O's, so to speak, in the baseball world. But he was a great leader. And I think at my age now and just looking at the world and the people I interact with, there's a difference between somebody who's in charge and somebody who's a leader. And he would bring us from all over the country. Most of the kids were from around here, and I'm in Minneapolis as we talk. But there were kids that came in from Chicago and Michigan and Wisconsin. But here I come from California, and I'm trying to fit in with all these guys who have a lot more in common, whether they grew up together or not, than I did with them. But he, if you were a bad apple and you didn't respect the University of Minnesota, you didn't respect the game, you didn't respect your teammates, and there weren't many, but they didn't last very long here. And it wasn't like they got pushed out. I think they just realized that this is not the culture for them. But he believed in us. He gave us some space to fail, both on and off the field. But I think, he loved us and trusted in us so much that I think we not only wanted to win for the school, we wanted to win for him. And nobody can force that upon somebody. You either have that in you and people gravitate to it, or they don't. But he never demanded that from us. There was very little ego, if any, involved. But he just had a way about him that we were not only trying to win for the Gophers, we were trying to win for him.
Did John ever raise his voice? He's been on this radio show or back to the PA and Dubé days many times, and just always a very even-keeled, kind of soft-spoken man. Did he ever raise his voice?
All right, I'll tell you a story. So it was my freshman year, and it was our third series. We had played Illinois, and we had played Michigan. And somebody made the mistake. I was a freshman. Someone made the mistake of telling me that I was second in the league in hitting. And I was like, oh, really? This was back before the internet and, stats were readily available. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh, really? I'm digging myself, right? So we go to Ohio State, and I go 1 for 19.
Oh, geez.
And after making one of those outs, I'm making my way back to the dugout. And if you've seen the movie Christmas Story, I said, oh, fudge.
Jeez.
Although I left the O part out, and I yelled fudge about as loud as humanly possible. And it wasn't at the Buckeyes' normal stadium where the Columbus Clippers play, and it was this big, empty stadium. And that word echoed in that ballpark for about an hour. And I got into the dugout, and the very calm John Anderson that you're talking about grabbed me by my jersey and put me up against the dugout wall and said, don't you ever disrespect your team, your school, your teammates, or me ever again. Do you understand? So there was that side of him, and I deserved that. And the whole team saw that. And I didn't feel threatened. I wasn't offended. I knew I was wrong. But everything, when those moments happened, we always knew this wasn't about him and his ego. This was about something that we needed. It was a lesson we needed to learn. And I don't think I ever yelled fudge again, at least not in front of everybody at the ballpark.
This is Ryan Lefebvre. He's the long-time TV play-by-play voice for the Kansas City Royals. They're in town to play the Twins beginning tomorrow, but we're celebrating the life of a former Golden Gophers baseball coach, John Anderson, who sadly over the weekend died due to complications associated with a cardiac arrest. Baseball boxes, baseball play-by-play guys just have the best stories. Ryan just shared one. Here's the potential for another. Take us back to 1990 and Iowa City, and the coldest college baseball game ever played, and what John did with his pickup truck to actually make that game happen.
Well, it was a really strange circumstance. It was a midweek doubleheader in Iowa City. We always played Big Ten games on the weekend, but I don't remember why. But we went there in the middle of the week, and they came here in the middle of the week to complete that series. We just went down there for 2 games. And as we were going down there, we're in the bus, and it's raining. And so, of course, the concern is, are we going to be able to play? Most fields had a tarp, but, we go to bed and in the hotel, and you wake up the next day, and first thing you're going to do is look out the windows. It's still raining. Are we going to play? Well, not only, had it rained, but then a cold front came through in the middle of the night, and it froze the rain. And so, I'm kind of getting acclimated to this playing in the cold thing after growing up in Southern California. But I mean, there are some limits, right? And we get in the bus and we go over to the stadium, and the tarp is still in the field. The problem is it rained on the tarp and it froze the tarp. And so they couldn't get the tarp off the field. And I'm thinking to myself, well, there's no way we can play in this, right? The next thing we know is there were players out there with a tamp, the metal thing. If you go to a baseball game, that they use to tamp the clay down in the batter's box.
Yeah.
And on the pitcher's mound to flatten it. And they're tamping the tarp just to try to break up the ice. And then the pickup truck part, someone drove a pickup truck on the tarp just to kind of break up the ice. And they were able to do that and get the tarp off the field, but they weren't really able to roll it up. They just kind of took it off in one big sheet and put it in the parking lot. And we played 2 games in that. And I remember standing out in center field, and I have a picture at home somewhere where I'm in the batter's box trying to blow hot air into my hands in between pitches. And I remember standing in center field and thinking to myself, what in the world am I doing here playing baseball? But John, he made us play, and we soldiered through it. But if you were to ask Dan Wilson when he comes to town with the Mariners or other teammates of mine during that time, and all you'd have to say is, the coldest time you've ever been on a baseball field in your life. And I'll bet they'll say Iowa in 1990.
Now, Ryan's mentioned it a couple of times. He's from Southern California. John was a Hibbing native who pitched for the Gophers, then started working with the coaching staff in 1976. Minnesota lifer John Anderson. Now, Ryan Lefebvre, being from Southern California, arrived at the U, as I read, with long hair and a skateboard, which I'm pretty sure is a metaphor, but I understand it. So how did John handle the Cali kid in you when you got to Minnesota and your coach is this Minnesota lifer?
Very delicately. I don't think he fully understood what he was getting, but I did come with a skateboard. Now, if you go around the U today, and I'll probably walk over there later today, you'll see kids skateboarding on campus, or sometimes maybe grabbing the seat of someone riding their bike, and their buddy will tow them from one class to the other. But back in the fall of 18, it feels that way, back in the fall of 1989, I mean, that was not something you would see on campus, but I would ride my skateboard, and I had a teammate, Tom Doyle. We had classes together, and he dragged me through campus, and I had an earring, which was, back then that was, way out in left field. But it just kind of fit the Southern California vibe that I brought. But I can tell you that he knew I was going to play as a freshman. And we had 2 captains, wonderful human beings who taught me so much about how to conduct myself playing Division I baseball. Dan Wilson was one of them, and Brian Robbie, who's been the head coach at Bethel for a long time and played in the major leagues briefly, even with the Twins. We were 2 to a room on the road, except for one room. And that was Dan Wilson, Ryan Lefebvre, and Brian Robbie. They had their nice queen-size, full-size bed, and I was on a cot in their room the whole year because John wanted Dan and Brian to keep an eye on me because I was a bit of a live wire. I was a handful. And so I think he wasn't quite sure what to make of me. So I had a full-time security detail.
Yeah, and a couple of good ones too.
Really good ones, though. Yeah.
May God rest the soul of the dearly departed John Anderson, and a couple of quickies with Rhino to close here. With your baseball team, the Kansas City Royals, you guys were game at Detroit over the weekend. Some close games. How has the season gone?
Extremely disappointing. I mean, we had a stretch of seasons. PA, we lost 106 games in 23 as a rebuild, and bounced back in 24 and got to the playoffs. We advanced in the wild card, almost beat the Yankees in the division series. Last year we had a ton of injuries, but still had a winning season, which I thought was a huge accomplishment when you look at the adversity that this team faced last year, to still have a winning season. So now we're healthy, we're deep, and we're expecting big things. And it wasn't just in Kansas City. I mean, I think the baseball world figured that we would be a player in the division. We got off to a slow start, and it's just been one injury after another. So the team that you'll see at Target Field Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday is not the team that we expected to have this year. And we've come out of the All-Star break playing well. We split 4 games with the Tigers and played some really good competitive games. And you know, who knows, maybe we're playing for something. But I mean, I'm going to buckle you with this one, but this is my 28th year with the Royals.
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of bad years. I mean, I've done quite a few 90, 100 loss seasons, along with a couple of World Series. But as far as disappointing years go, I mean, this is at the very top. We were really hoping for some big things this year.
Right, and Ryan, off the 28, so let's say nearly 3 decades working with the Kansas City Royals. Who's the all-time favorite Royals player with whom you have worked, and why?
Oh, my gosh. Oh, I think the player that impacted me the most was Mike Sweeney. And, he's a Royals Hall of Famer, and I'm a little older than he is, but we were in the same part of life where my broadcasting career was getting going, his playing career was getting going. We were single. Our faith was very similar. We just leaned on each other a lot as he was adjusting to life as a major leaguer and making a lot of money, and the responsibility that comes with that, and the pressure that comes with that. And we both ended up getting married. I had 4 kids. He had 6 kids. I named one of my sons after him. He named one of his sons after me. And he played hurt, and he was the first Royal that signed a long-term contract on a bad team with the hope that we would get better. And other players just kind of moved on to other teams. Jermaine Dye, Carlos Beltran, who just went into the Hall of Fame, Johnny Damon, Joe Randa, they all eventually just kind of moved on to other teams. But Michael signed with the Royals because he wanted to be in Kansas City and he believed in the Royals, and he never made it to the postseason. But I think, just watching him play, he was a gamer, but just watching as a human being how he lived life through a lot of adversity as being the face of the organization when they were really, really bad, impacted me. I think that's a word that I can best use. Impacted me more than any other.
And lastly, Major League Baseball as a whole, Ryan, with payrolls and TV deals constructed the way they are, honestly, like Minnesota and Kansas City, teams like that, do they have almost no chance of getting to the World Series with the way things are now?
I would say they have no chance. I look at it from a different angle. I mean, clearly we have a revenue disparity. I mean, as you know, in Kansas City, we share a parking lot with the Chiefs, and they've been great. But all the Chiefs have had to do, and I don't want to minimize this, but all the Chiefs have had to do is make good decisions, hire the right people, draft the right players, and they've done that. They've done that better than anybody else, and that's why they've gone to the Super Bowl just about every year. On our side of the parking lot, we can assemble good players, and Twins fans remember just in recent memory some really good runs at the Metrodome and after they moved to Target Field. For me, when you're trying to build a fan base and you want fans to really dig into a team for the long term, you want your players to be able to stay here. And so, yes, you can piece things together. I mean, what Tampa Bay has done the past several years is remarkable. What Milwaukee has done, what Cleveland has done. The problem is you got to let these players go eventually, and that's just heartbreaking for the fan base.
Right.
And so, when you have one team making, $15 million a year in television revenue, and you have another one that's making $320 million in revenue, I mean, clearly there's a disparity there. So you can win, but I think the bigger factor for teams like the Twins and the Royals is just our ability to continue to win, to build something that you can hang on to your players, and they want to stay here, and you can afford to keep them like models in other sports.
Love you very much, buddy. Great catching up with you. Sorry it's over sullen news, and enjoy the series Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and we'll catch up soon, okay?
All right. Love you forever, buddy.
That's Royals play-by-play man Ryan Lefebvre, and of course former Gopher, sadly under awful and tragic pretenses, as we got to hear his thoughts and share some memories of his coach passing away, John Anderson, due to complications from cardiac arrest. We will turn the page on this and return next with Vikes Bites.
Vikes Bites.
9 to noon on The Fan.
This is 9 to noon, live on iHeartRadio and KFAN, The Fan.
Vikes Bites! Vikes Bites is brought to you by Kinmount Exteriors, KinmountExteriors.com. Get to know Paul, Craig, and Clay. Windows, roofing, siding, decks, oh my. Whether it's a full boat, these giant projects, or maybe, I just learned this term, a Minnesota mullet. Maybe you're just freshening up a little facelift on the front side, some stone facing on that home. Again, siding, roofing, and decks as well. Kinmount Exteriors can do it all at a high level. You'll love the personal connections you make there, no hidden fees, and you'll love their showroom down in Lakeville as well. But learn more. Start at the website, KinmountExteriors.com. This version of Vikes Bites PA might be listed as no news is good news, and I'll just give you a couple of examples here. So for the Vikings, rookies reported for camp yesterday. Okay, ho-hum, yeah, rookies in the building. This is exciting. Big Citrus and Jake Golday and Caleb Banks. How's that foot looking? We're going to find out very soon. But no news is good news when you consider that as Vikings fans looking forward to the week ahead, we're not reading a statement from our team that says Niners head coach Kyle Shanahan was involved in a car accident last week where he suffered non-life-threatening injuries. Coach Shanahan will participate in team activities on a limited basis at the start of training camp while he recovers. And so now everybody out in the Bay is, well, how did they keep this accident under wraps? Who was involved? How serious is it? Is he going to be available for week 1? The steam appears that he is. But assistant head coach Chris Forster is now going to be leading the charge. And the interesting thing about that is people in the Bay have now discovered that he may have had a video in the past of him snorting a powdery white substance. And so in the Bay Area, as you're just trying to find out, oh, wait, hang on, like half the team's on the pup list to start camp?
Yeah.
And now we got this thing with the coach, and then the assistant head coach may have been imperfect in his past, we'll say, flawed as we all are. Wow, it's steamy out in the Bay. Ho-hum, no news is good news. Cool to have the rookies in the building here in Eagan.
Let's add to it. And these little stories these stories just popped this morning, I believe.
Yeah.
Into training camp for all these teams, and with the next level Shanny, that came up a few days ago. Everybody was like, "Whoa, holy cow, that's incredibly serious." Eric Bieniemy, former running backs coach for the Minnesota Vikings, offensive coordinator or offensive assistant with the Kansas City Chiefs.
He's the OC, yep.
He's the OC. His wife, I believe her name is Mia.
That is correct.
Was shot in their home. And that just popped. And former Minnesota Viking or Minnesota Vikings coach Ben Steele, tight ends coach for the Washington Commanders, was fired this morning. I mean, they just asked him to leave the Covenant right in front of training camp.
Yeah, it's absolutely nuts. We're pumped to have the veterans reporting tomorrow, back together again, reconstruction of the dream. We're back! Alec Lewis is going to be posting on X, and it's going to be a blast. Meanwhile, you mentioned, indeed, Mia Bieniemy. She's in stable condition in the hospital, but Loudoun County, Virginia, and it's a crazy situation. More news, I'm sure, will ultimately come out. But I believe Bieniemy was in wherever their practice facility is in Missouri, handling training camp. He's not even there.
Mm-hmm.
So back in Virginia, something occurred, and hopefully his wife, stable condition. I believe that's generally good news. So hopefully it wasn't too serious, and everybody would kind of find out what was going on.
Yeah.
But picture being, a 3-hour flight, 2-hour flight, whatever it is away, and that's happening at your home. That's got to be awful.
And for Steele, when you're asked to leave, he was the tight ends coach.
Yeah, looks like he got clipped, maybe had too many and got behind the wheel.
Oh, so they're okay.
That's what I'm seeing on PFT.
Right, because, without information like that, the first inclination is, let me get this straight. You had the entire offseason to analyze how this guy coaches and, what happens with the tight ends and everything, and now you decide to let him go?
Yeah.
But hopefully everything works out for everybody involved, because those are some heavy situations. And Puka Nacua is facing a heavy situation with the LA Rams, but at $5.5 million, Puka decided not to hold in. Instead, Puka's going to do it. Do it.
Do it till the team's satisfied.
Whatever it is, but get your ass out there, man, because we ain't dealing with no hold in and that thing over there we get to read about every day.
This is, and even in the college ranks, Michael Lombardi, University of North Carolina GM. He's been placed on administrative leave. There's some pending investigation there on the eve of camp. So kind of a manic Monday in some regards, which means in some ways no news is good news on the front of your favorite Minnesota Vikings.
Fairly stated.
Veterans indeed report tomorrow. Everything's going to fully start that party. Sauce and I are going to be on the perch on Sunday for a little noon to 2. It's going to be a blast.
Sunday,
right,
not Saturday?
Saturday, noon to 2. Excuse me.
Got it.
Let me hit you with a couple of Vikes Bites.
Yeah, it's Vikes Bites.
So the thing that we try hard not to talk about, but kind of enjoy talking about and will continue to talk about until there's a solution, the quarterback competition, is keeping 3 quarterbacks on the active roster currently favored into the season.
Yes. How prohibitively favored? Well, that's a very good question. Lacan, glad you asked it. Dane Mizutani from the Pioneer Press covers the team in fantastic fashion. He'll be in studio an hour and 10 minutes from now. We can broach that topic with him. But Murray, McCarthy, Wentz, McCarthy, Murray, however you want to box up that trifecta, I do feel that is prohibitively favored to be the equation for the final 53.
Yeah, and I just wonder about it, and you're right, we will talk more about Dame, but as a nibble, a morsel for Vikes Bites, I almost think in some ways, is that what the team wants? Likely. Is that how the players react to the result? And are they potentially willing to do that?
And who's the 3 and how do they handle it?
Yeah, and that, of course, if it's the 3, I would be making the assumption that Max Brosmer would be the odd man out, practice squad style.
Yeah.
But to that end, depending upon how that order lines up, is everybody happy with being one of 3 in the house? But yes, we'll chat more about that with Dane at 11 a.m.
The week goes like this. Kevin O'Connell and maybe General Manager Nolan Teasley, they have press conferences tomorrow. Then Wednesday, training camp begins. They practice, I believe, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Sauce and Khan at the walkthrough of, or are you going to be there for training camp practice? 2 o'clock or noon? Well,
it's noon to 2, so
okay.
we're not going to have a ton of action in front of us, I don't believe, based on the timing.
Should have the walkthrough, and then off Sunday, and then I believe pads go on Monday, and 9 to noon might be at Vikings training camp on Monday, but it's back. We're back. They're all back. Wednesday, they start practicing.
Vikes Bites! Brought to you by Kinmount Exteriors. No hidden fees. It's kind of like no news is good news. But is there a potential clipping penalty with the Brian O'Neill contract? You and I mean, just historically, I don't think we've ever spent extended amounts of times verbally sweating out contracts and financial situations with the team, just because we're not privy to what the negotiating looks like, and neither of us are equipped to speak at a deep level about void years and the various ways that contracts and Mr. Brzezinski can do his job. So, with that said, people are kind of murmuring the idea of there's no hold-in for Puka. Could there potentially be a hold-in or some sort of friction around Brian O'Neill trying to get some future security added to the back end as he enters the final year of his contract. I just wonder how Brian O'Neill's going to handle that. It's his entire career has been here, and we love B.O., and that's all good. And I assume it'll be all good in the end. But on the front end, that's one thing people are looking at into training camp. Is
fair.
He's owed a fair dollar, but just for 1 year. So what are they going to do with that with Mr. O'Neill?
Well, if just put yourselves in those shoes. What up, P-Fox? Put yourselves in those shoes, if only for a second. What would you do? Because if you get out there, run around, practice, then the pads go on and everything, trying to get a new deal, and you get hurt, changes everything.
Correct.
Knowing Brian O'Neill and his family as well as I do, if it completely was an O'Neill and O'Neill family decision, I bet you'd be out there, just let's work this thing out.
Yeah.
But if an agent is in his ear saying, this is in your best interest and your family's best interest to do it this way.
Right.
That very well is the way it could be done, which means at facility, in meetings, doing the whole thing, but I just ain't going to go out there and practice.
Yeah, and to be fair, and I don't know if Brian O'Neill looks at it this way. I'm an outsider. I'm not emotionally in that room with them. He gets nicked up. Nothing serious, right? I mean, well, we have to go back. I can't remember. It may have been against the Packers.
The Achilles?
Was that Zimmer's last year? And I think he was chasing a pick six or something like that.
Yep.
And he tore it. But all of these sorts of conversations have existed around kind of end of year situations, just old people getting broken down over a tough, long NFL stretch.
Welcome to the club, B.O.
But I'm exhausted after Viking seasons. But that's a good point. The agent participation in this kind of changes things. That is Vikes Bites, brought to you by KinMountExteriors.com. And a texter, 64686, Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line. It just broke that Bieniemy's son may have been arrested in connection with the situation out there. So that's just via the text line. I should probably confirm that. But that's it's just a manic Monday and some weird stuff happening off the field around NFL teams.
Pete Box, beloved Parker Fox, courtesy of Continental Diamond in St. Louis Park. He joins the equation around the corner at FM 100.3 KFAN.
This is 9 to noon, live on iHeartRadio and KFAN, The Fan.
From the 1-800-ASK-GARY Traffic Center. This report